Has anyone ever lost your keys? Wave at me. We had some people laughing after the first service because I preached this message, then I lost my keys. It's funny, right? It wasn't to me. I was like, honey, where's my keys? And everybody out there just started laughing. They're like, are you serious? The title of today's message is Finding My Keys. So if someone in here was to have lost their keys, there's probably two things we would ask them, right? First thing would be is, what do your keys look like? And what are your keys for? If I lost my keys, they wouldn't work on your house, would they? They wouldn't work on your car, would they? So if I lost my keys, the first thing you would say is, well, what do they look like? And then what are they for? Because what they're for determines the urgency of that set of keys. If the keys were for an old go-kart I had 25 years ago, how urgent would you be helping me looking for those keys? But if the keys was the keys that unlocked my truck outside and my house at home and, Lord knows what else that is in our life, the urgency of the keys determines of how hard you look. So I want to challenge you today, church, that if you look beside you in your pew or your seat, you'll see a little blue thing that says welcome. Everybody hold that up and wave it at me. Now I want you to turn that around backwards. What does it say on the back? Notes. There's a little thing called a pen right beside that packet. Today during the message, I highly encourage you to take notes because I took a 10-week series and broke it down into one message. I timed myself and I was over 70 minutes long, so then I broke it down to 40 minutes. So I'm going to drop a bunch of nuggets that I don't want you to miss. Everybody with me this morning? You don't have to use the pen and paper. Some of you's got an iPhone. You're a lot smarter than me, and you can take notes. And it's like synced to when we get a phone call or a text message at the house, I hear things ringing all around. I'm like, what is that? My wife's like, oh, well, that iPad's linked to this, and this thing's linked to that, and so-and-so's in a group message, and it sounds like people all around me, phones going off. But so you can use your iPhone, you can use your iPad, whatever you've got. But I don't say this lightly. But today's message could be one of those messages that forever change your life. There's keys to the kingdom that if you don't know how they operate, if you don't know how they work, you're going to miss so much as a Christian. So the first two things I would ask you is, what do your keys look like and what are they for? I've got a picture I want to show you this morning. The first picture is of a wildflower or a field with a bunch of flowers. If we could get that picture put up of the flowers in the back, that's you guys. It's a pretty picture, isn't it? So this is a picture of a random field, and these are just wildflowers. Nobody planted these flowers, they just grow. Anybody ever have these things pop up in your yard and you're out there with a weed killer killing them? We do. So I'm a farmer. We've got cows and horses and goats and chickens and that sort of thing. Fields aren't pretty. There's things that grow in a field that you don't even know what it is. There's times when I'm out bush hogging the fields that I run into those things called poke salad, and they got this purple stuff all over them, and it gets on your clothes. It looks like you spilt a jelly sandwich in your lap. I don't know if anybody's been with me on that, but there's things in a field that are ugly. If you've ever worked a hay field for a living, I highly encourage every teenager in here to go bale hay for a summer job. You'll really appreciate your life because there's thorns and there's briars, and every now and then you'll see a snake or a rat. It's tough work. Fields aren't pretty. But we've got to get past the field to get to the product. Now, here's what I want to tell you about this picture. As I was studying, God showed me a couple things that was really miraculous. I thought just blew my mind, and maybe it'll blow yours. But it seems like these flowers are random. Just kind of, God wanted a little blue, so he threw some blue in there. And he wanted a little red, so he threw some red and some yellows and some greens. It just looks like he wanted to paint a pretty picture. But here's what I learned. Insects only see certain colors. Come on, somebody. This will preach. Listen, insects only see certain colors. So he designed the plants to be the color that attracts the right insect. So if he went through that much trouble to paint a picture of a random field of flowers, how much more would he go through for your field and my field and the things we go through? I'm going to show you another picture. This is also a field. It's not as pretty, but this is a stadium with about 25,000 people. You see the different colors? You see the reds, the greens, the blues, the yellows. That's the field we're going to be talking about today. It's the harvest field. I'm going to give you 3 keys. Today's message is finding my keys. I'm going to go ahead and give you the 3 keys. So if you're taking notes, we can go ahead and write these down. And then I'm going to build the message around those 3 keys. The first is the first key is universal. I know this sounds a little over your head. I'm going to explain this as we go through. Just write this down. The first key is universal. The second key is keys are permanent. This will all make sense. The third key is that keys either make or break success. And I'm going to touch on that just for a second. If you can predict failure, you can predict success. Everybody knows someone in your life and you say to yourself, if they continue down that road, they're not going to be doing good. So you just kind of predicted failure. Well, here's the thing. All keys operate like laws, okay? So you don't have to break a law. The law breaks you. When you run a red light and you get hit by a car, you broke the law then broke you. If there was a fire and I put my hand over the fire, someone else wouldn't have to burn me. I would get burned on my own. The law breaks you, okay? So the word law literally means keys in the New Testament. So that's why we're titling today's message Keys. But these are keys that it doesn't matter if you're a brand new Christian. It doesn't matter if you've been a Christian for 20 years. I don't care if you've pastored. It doesn't matter. These keys work for every single person. Now, I had like upwards of 40 of these keys, and I broke it down to 3. And at the end of last service, I added a key. It was tithe. But I only have 3 on my notes. So I would say that when we come into a service, or not even into service, let me just say this. When you're out and about doing your own business, and you're bumping into people at the grocery stores and Walmarts or wherever you're at, you are missing gold everywhere you go. People receive on the level that they perceive, okay? So if you perceive me as just some guy wearing some white breeches up here on stage, and I don't really like the way he talks, I don't really like the way he dresses, you're going to miss the entire message. But if you perceive me as, you know what, I can get something from this today. I really feel like I can take some of these notes, I can plug them in my life, and I will forever be changed. How you perceive is how you receive. Does that make sense? So I got a couple things here, and then we're going to throw up another verse. It's Matthew 13. First thing is, when you want something in your life, it doesn't just fall from heaven, okay? This is the most important point that I want to get across to you today. Anytime God moves on earth, he's got to have 2 things, people and finances, okay? God uses us to do his job. That's why he said, greater works will they do than I ever did. That's why he said there are keys to the kingdom. It's multiple, okay? So that's me and that's you. So if you're praying for something, it doesn't drop out of the sky like an asteroid. It comes through people. If we don't make ourselves available, or if we don't look presentable, if someone perceives us as a jerk or a knucklehead or somebody that just has an ugly face, how much do you think they're going to receive from us? Come on, don't act like you don't know what I'm talking. You've been in the grocery store and you met that person and you just want to say, fix your face. Come on, somebody. Don't make me look like the only sinner in this room up here on stage. Y'all look at me like I'm crazy. There's people that you run into that are unapproachable. Oftentimes, that is us as Christians. We come in and we get used to a routine. We get used to coming and serving and giving and having the pattern that when we go outside the church, it's like our job is to come into church and do everything. So when we go outside, it's kind of like we cut it off and we're just in Walmart. Oh, hey, Sally, how are you? And then that's it. The truth of the matter is, the church isn't to save people. The church is to disciple people. We're supposed to be out playing the field. We're supposed to be out winning souls out there. If there's 80 people in here and everybody went outside next week and you invited 5 people to church, you gave them the invitation, you told them about Jesus Christ, you gave them your biggest sword, which is your testimony of where God's brought you, then maybe you can relate. Maybe you're the person that got church hurt and hadn't been back to church. But because you're so hurt, you're unapproachable, so nobody's going to come ask you, how did you get over it? Maybe you're the person that went through a divorce. Maybe you're the person that went through, anxiety problems. Maybe you have depression problems. I don't know. We all have testimonies, okay? We're all fields with a bunch of junk in it. Somebody can attest to that? Look at your neighbor and say, you got dirt in your field? And look at your neighbor you didn't like and say, you got weeds in yours. Listen, we've all got dirty fields. Pastures aren't pretty. But if we look past the weeds, if we look past the briars, if we look past all the dirt, we'll begin to see the treasure. And when you become sold out enough to sell everything you own to buy someone else's field because you see the potential in them, God will bless you 100 times over. So there's 2 points I want to get to you this morning. Let me just kill this water. First service, I spilled it all down there. Just making that known. So I gave you 3 keys. 2 points is, what do my keys look like? What are they for? Your keys look like this. There's 2 types of keys. There's 2 types of people. Let me say this. There's people that are attracted to your field because of your gift, because they can receive something from you. And then there's those that are attracted from what you can receive from them. The key is, it's just like a bank account. It's real simple. If you take more withdrawals than deposits, you're going to be bankrupt. Okay? So you've got to have as much or many more people depositing into you so that you can pour out to others. Think of it like this. God's the huge water tower, okay? And we're these little bitty vessels. And our vessels have thousands of holes. So he pours into us so that we pour out over into others. Okay, read this next verse with me, Matthew 13:10. His disciples came to him and asked, why do you use parables to talk to the people? This is crucial because guess what? Jesus isn't here roaming the earth no more. So he talks to us, and what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to spread the good news. We're supposed to tell people about our testimonies and what he's done for us. He replied, you are permitted to understand the secrets of the kingdom, but others are not. Now flip with me over to the next verse, Matthew 16:19. And he says, and I will give you the keys of the kingdom. Notice he doesn't say the key to the kingdom. There's not a key to the kingdom. There's keys of the kingdom. Everybody put your hand up. You are keys of the kingdom, okay? Anyone ever heard the prayer? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. How is his will going to be done on earth? Through his kingdom, through his keys. Who are you? You are the key to unlock someone else's door. Here's where the frustration comes in. You notice I said, you're the key to unlock the door? I didn't say open the door. Okay? It's easy for us to become frustrated when we've unlocked something in someone's life, but they can't see it yet. That's where discipleship comes in, okay? You've unlocked the key. I gave an analogy during the first service, and I'll say it like this because I thought it went good. We like staying at the Hilton Hotel, okay? We get a discount. We're AAA members, so don't look at me thinking, oh, that guy's staying at the Hilton. No, listen, we would stay at the Marriott or whatever's the cheapest hotel if we got a discount there too. But we stay at the hotel because they have benefits. One of the benefits is on one of the floors, there's an open bar 24 hours. Not like a bar like, I'm not getting hammered. Open bar like fruits, Cokes, drinks, soda, that sort of thing. So the first time me and my wife, we went and stayed at a Hilton. We got our little card, we went in, we opened our room, and I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to go check this thing out. And I went down there, and there was yogurts, there was toast, there was fruits, there was soda, and I took and loaded it all in my shirt, and I went waddling back to the room, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's free. We paid for it. We might as well use it. And we probably didn't even eat half the stuff, but I was like a kid that hadn't experienced food before because it was the first time. But I want to give you this analogy. What good would it be to have the room key that accesses the penthouse suite with private pools, all-you-can-eat buffets? What point would it be to have the room key if you can't get in the building? Jesus was the master key that connected heaven and earth. Jesus unlocked the hotel for us to go in. So I'm going to say it like this. You can be the Christian that enters the hotel and hangs out in the lobby. Or you can be the Christian that unlocks some doors in your life and you start getting the benefits of the gym, of the pool, of the penthouse suite, of the all-you-can-eat buffet. It's your choice. Salvation is free. Didn't cost you anything. It cost him his life. All you had to do was accept him. The kingdom is not free. Okay? The kingdom takes work. The kingdom takes energy. The kingdom makes you tired. The kingdom makes you irritable. But that's when we have to be presentable. We have to maintain composure. If you was here yesterday and you helped with the food drive, go ahead and stand. This was kingdom work, okay? It took each and every person being the piece of the puzzle to make this thing to come together. Everybody take a second and celebrate. Let's celebrate this morning of what happened yesterday. You can be seated. I want to ask you, was that easy? Was it easy? No, listen, we were sweating. I ain't going to go there. We were sweating yesterday, okay? We were hot. We was out there spraying suntan. My wife's probably got a white spark on her side because she was holding the baby and I was spraying sun lotion on the baby. So she's probably white on one side. It was hot. It was hard work. Jared's son, what's your son's name, Jared? Taylor. He was getting it yesterday. He was slinging watermelons like the Muffin Man. I mean, we were putting in effort, but it come at a price. It took time, it took effort, it took energy, it took leadership. It took people willing to work together, and that's what it takes to create the kingdom, okay? So we're supposed to go beyond these walls and give the call, win souls for the kingdom, and then we're supposed to bring them back so that we can disciple them in a group of people with pastors, leaders, teachers, elders, so that they know what the next steps are. It is pointless to getting someone saved and saying, well, that's it, congratulations, have a good life. They're going to be the Christians that live in the lobby. So it's our job to go through Scripture, to unlock keys. It's our job to use our testimony, to say, listen, this is what I've been through, and this is how God's changed me in my life. So the 3 keys, I'm going to jump to them real quick. The first key was universal. And you say, well, that's kind of odd. What do you mean by universal? What I mean is one key doesn't fit every door, but the keys work wherever you go. See, a lot of people think that they have to have the perfect relationship, or maybe they have to have the perfect job, or maybe they think that things aren't going right in the current city they live or neighborhood they live, so they're going to move. Or let me get real with some of you. We're going to divorce that spouse, and we're going to divorce that church, and we're going to separate ourselves from those people. But then you get to the next place, and it's the same problems. Okay? The keys work anywhere you go. So if you're running from something, chances are is you don't know what key you need in your life to unlock what you're running from. Come on, somebody, put your hands together for that one. I think some of you are sitting here this morning and your mind's a little bit blown. It's okay. Mine was too. This was a 10-week series that I combined to one message. So that's why I said I want you taking notes. There's things in here that will forever change your life. The second key was that keys are permanent. Keys are permanent. You say, what does that mean? Well, here's what that means. The same keys that worked for Abraham worked for Moses, worked for Elisha, worked for Elijah, worked for Paul, worked for Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Listen, the same keys that worked then still work now. Listen, the same Holy Spirit that resurrected Jesus Christ from the grave is the same Spirit that dwells inside each and every one of us today. The keys are universal, so if it worked for them, let's try working it for us. You can predict success. If you're failing in an area of life, see what laws you're breaking. See what doors you're closing. If you're succeeding in life, continue doing what's working. You know the old saying, if it's working, work it. It's easy for us to do what didn't work, but oftentimes we don't repeat what did work. I'm going to give you an example. We buy and sell houses. This is what we do as a business. And there's multiple ways to do this. One way you can buy them and you can fix them up and you can sell them. One way is you could just buy them and then sell them without doing nothing to them and you make less money. So within our business, we have figured out where we made the most money. So we started doing that. Guess what? It started working. But then you know what I did? I went right back to what I've always done, and I started doing the old thing again. Instead of continuing to focus on what worked for us, I went back to, let me say it like this, I went back to what was comfortable. Okay, it's easy to start a new thing. It's easy to start tithing, and it's easy for God to start exploding in your life. But then it's just as easy to quit just as fast as you started. That's why we have this thing called the Christian roller coaster. And I hope anybody's ever on it, because what you do is you get around a group of people, they're feeding you nutrients, you're growing, you're tithing, you're doing what you're supposed to, and your life is headed in that successful direction. But then you say, well, I'm offended by this person. I didn't like the way he looked. I don't like the way he preached. And I'm just quit. I'm not doing this no more. And then guess what? You start going back down. Well, does tithing really work, or are they just trying to get my money? Okay, you know, this is things that I know I think about, so y'all are looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm sure you've been there too. Well, do I really need to tithe this month because I've got some bills that are due? Yes, because it's not your money. This is a key that I poked in the last service that is so important. You want to unlock everything God has to have. You want God to unlock everything that you're asking Him for in your life, but you're surrendering to none. It's easy to sit back and to beg God for things. It's hard to work for things. The third key. Keys create failure or they create success. And you say, well, how do we do that? The number one key, the number one way to unlock your keys is through this thing called purpose. Purpose is crucial for a Christian. If you go through your Christian walk in life and you don't know your purpose, or let me say this, some of us, this will relate better, if you're running from your purpose. I heard a guy tell me one time the richest place in America was a cemetery. He said because what was dead in the cemetery were songs that were never written, books that were never wrote, there was purpose that never got propelled. Everything that died in the cemetery is the richest place for what it was never developed from those people. Purpose is what creates your success as a Christian. Purpose is what unlocks the doors. Purpose is so crucial. Come up here for a second. I got an example I want to do for you. So this guy right here is a jam-up guitar player. That's his cool-looking guitar right there. What kind of guitar is that? It's an Ovation. Somebody put your hands together for the Ovation. I don't know if that's a good guitar, but it sounds like it. I'm not a musician. But I will tell you this, the music that comes from this instrument is awesome. So everybody stand up to your feet with me this afternoon. And we're going to get down to a little bit of music here. Follow me. That was fun, right? All right, everybody can be dismissed. No, I'm just kidding. That was cool, wasn't it? The notes that come from that guitar makes you start to move a little bit. You can be seated. But here's what I want to tell you. This guitar's purpose is to be played, okay? The success of the guitar is contingent upon its purpose. Would this guitar be successful if we had it in a display case up here next Sunday? If it was just hanging in a case and we come in and we put every one of these instruments in display cases and you couldn't play them, and we put like Do Not Touch, worth $2,500. This was played in 2019 at Verb Church, and it was like a museum of instruments. Would they be serving their purpose? No. Would they be successful? No. The success of the product is contingent upon its purpose. You can put it down. Please, sir. That sounded a little mean. The success of the product is contingent upon its purpose. So let me say this. The success of you in this life is contingent upon your purpose. God give us the ability to work. Pull up Deuteronomy back in the back. I want to read something to you. Deuteronomy 8:17, yep. Said, he did all this so you would never say to yourself, I have achievement and wealth with my own strength and energy. God is not against elevating you. God is not against financially taking you to the next level. God's not against you driving nice cars. What God's against is you not giving him the credit for your purpose. You're not giving God credit for your success through his purpose. I'm sure you've heard this. When you're faithful over the few things, he'll make you a ruler over many things. The reason why we struggle with things at home, the reason why we struggle with certain financial areas or certain family areas is because we're not faithful what he's already given us, but we want the reward of the multitude. When we learn to sell out to 80 people, then God will open the door for 800 people. When we go to the supermarket and we unlock 6 keys, then God says, okay, you can be a good steward over 600 keys. And I'm going to say this, there's people that God's placed in your life that are trying to what they're really trying to do is break the key off in the lock. Anybody ever did that? Your hands are full of something and you're trying to force that key to work and it snaps off in there. The whole thing is ruined. The enemy's trying to come in and break off locks because there's people that you're going to say, listen, God's done this in my life. God's done that in my life. I'm an overcomer. I'm an achiever. And they're going to say, no, you're not. Well, that's temporary. Yeah, okay, well, tithing worked one time, but what about again? Well, you know what? That is a good church, but I heard this. You know, what they see or what they want you to believe are the weeds. What they want you to believe is the dirt. What they want you to believe is the rocks. Because if they can convince you that your field isn't valuable, you won't see value in anyone else. In Deuteronomy, God says, he goes on, remember the Lord your God. He is the one who gives you power to be successful in order to fulfill the covenant and conform to your ancestors with an oath. Another translation says the ability to add to. Okay? He gives you the ability to produce. He's not talking about money. He's talking about success. The success of a product is when it can be used to its fulfillment. Okay? So when it says that he gives you the ability to produce, the first commandment God gave man was to work. If you go to Genesis 2, you read, God made man, put him in the garden and said, work it. God gave man the commandment to work before he even gave man woman. So work comes before woman. Now two becomes one. Now you're working together. But if you can't work and support yourself and you're in financial debt, how are you ever going to find a spouse that's going to join with you? I'm going to tell you something, ladies. I think you ought to do a little background check on men when you start dating. Like, hey, can I know your credit card debt? Can I know your FICO score? Because, listen, you're joining two is going to become one. And if it's not working out for them, if they can't handle the little thing, then how are they going to handle your thing? And, man, it goes the same for you. So what I would say is that we need to be successful as Christians. I don't mean wealthy. I mean successful. And we obtain success as Christians by using kingdom principles, by using kingdom keys. The Bible we read earlier in Matthew that it said there is keys to the kingdom. We now know those keys are you and those keys are me. When we leave here today and we go out into the world, we go out into the marketplace. I know some of you are going to a restaurant. You're going to go eat after this. Wave at me. I guess there's only 3 of us in here that's going to eat after this service. My stomach's eating my backbone. If you're going to go eat after service, wave at me. Okay, there's the hands. All right, I know. Listen, I knew you. I was like, I know they're not liars. I really don't. So I know they must be telling me a little story. So here's the thing. When you're eating today, I want you just to sit and I want you to think about everybody that's in the room next to you. Are they lost? Do they need to hear a testimony? Maybe they come into that restaurant today and said, I'm going to eat the very last meal that I'm ever going to eat. I'm going to go home and I'm going to take my own life. God doesn't just do random acts. He doesn't make random colored flowers for no reason. And everything he does with purpose. It's our job to plan. It's our job to be the hands and be the feet. You know why it seems weird to come into church and to praise for 4 songs or to pray for an hour? It's because we don't do it at home. It seems weird to come in and worship for an hour because after 1 or 2 worship songs come on, you turn it off and you flip back over to, whatever you listen to. It seems weird to pray for hours and hours and hours because we go home and we say our normal prayer like, Dear Lord, I pray for everybody on my prayer list, amen. We do our normal prayer, and we miss so often what God's called us for. We miss so often our purpose. It's not just to be a random person in a random room. It's to be the key to unlock someone's door. It's to be the hands and to be the feet. Or let me say it this way. It's to be the tangible love and enthusiasm of God's church. If you don't know, that's what Verb Church meant. I asked Shane, I said, when I first met him, I said, why did you name Verb? That's such a weird name. He's like, funny you should ask. And then he went in, did that sound like Shane? I was trying to mock him. Funny you should ask. That's what I pictured in my head, him saying. So I asked Shane, and he said, well, it's funny you ask. He said, when we started the church, I prayed about it and said, God, we really want to name this church. And I don't remember exactly how he said. I think he said there was a road or something, named it somewhere or something. But he said what it meant was the tangible enthusiasm. And when you really think about that, God said this, the greatest commandment, when he was being questioned, and they said, well, if you really are Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? He said, love your neighbor. First thing he said was love. Then once you receive the agape love, once you understand love, then he tells you where to place that love. Then he says, place it on your neighbor. The tangible enthusiasm is love. Or let me say it like this, the New Testament translation of love literally means to honor. So we don't honor because someone deserves honor. We don't honor because they're honorable. We honor because it's what's in us. When we learn to honor the field, we'll get so much faster the result of what's buried in it, okay? If you're not invested in something, if you don't really believe in something, then how are you ever heard this? Hurt people, help people. People believe in people that believe in people. As a group of believers, so we're the church, okay? Everybody in here, we make up the body of this church. We are the church. This is just a building. So if you can wear a hat at home, you can wear a hat in church. Why? Because you are the church. You are the body. There's as many members come together. So I would challenge us that as we go out of these doors today, that we take these keys and we begin to unlock these areas in someone else's life so that God can then begin to unlock areas in our life. I would highly challenge you or encourage you that when you go outside the walls that of the building and you go to your local grocery stores or wherever you go, that you start seeing a field that's ready for harvest, that you start seeing flowers and you start seeing people for who they really are, not for what you see. You start seeing the field for what's in it and not what's on it. I put something on Facebook last week and I said this, that a seed goes into the soil. The soil never goes into the seed. The seed has everything it needs in it to be this magnificent apple tree to produce 100 apples a month. But the seed is dependent upon the soil to bring out its full potential. The seed can't develop to be what it needs to be without the soil being conditioned right. If you go back to Matthew, I'm not going to put it on the screen, Matthew 13, what we read earlier, and you read the beginning part of that, it talks about the seed and the sower. And he says, some seed's going to fall on rough ground, rocky ground, some seed's going to fall on shallow ground, and it's going to sprout up real fast, and the sun's going to scorch it. It talks about the condition of the soil. You notice it doesn't talk about the condition of the seed. So now I'm really going to drop a bomb on you this morning. Whether or not you receive something from this message today isn't contingent upon me throwing the seed. It's contingent upon your soil. See, I used to think back years ago, I would think, God, I need you to just give me just the anointing, Lord, just to give a message that's going to rock the house. And then I was sitting there studying one day, and it was like God slapped me and said, you're an idiot. All you do is produce the seed. All you do is sow. He said, you can't control the soil in which the seed's thrown on. All you've got to do is plant the field. It's up to them to condition the soil. So when you're sitting here today and you say, well, that was a good message, I didn't really get a lot from it, then maybe we should go home and check our soil. Maybe we should go home and check our keys. If you left here today and you didn't have the key to your house, you wouldn't get home. If you left here today and you didn't have your bank account number, it wouldn't matter if you had $20 million in it. You can't access it. I'm going to ask the band to come back up and begin to play a little something. And I'm going to say this. When you begin to walk in God's purpose that He has for your life, then you begin to access what He has for your life. If you read in Scripture, follow me now. If you read in Scripture, the Bible says that God created the end to the beginning. Okay? He didn't work forward. He didn't go front to back. He started in the end and worked backwards. You follow me? So here's what I want to tell you today. Does anyone in here have something that they've started, a business, a ministry, an idea, a song? You've got something in your life that you want to see fulfilled, right? If that's you, wave at me. Come on, be bold. Listen, if you can't be bold in church, how are you going to be bold out there? We're around a bunch of group of people that ain't scared to love on you. You go outside them walls, you can't be, listen, if you can't do it here, you can't do it there. Now wave at me if you've got something you want to see God fulfill in your life. So here's what I want to tell you. Here's some good news for you. You ready for this? God started in the end and worked backwards. So if He's begun something in your life, He's already finished it. Come on, somebody. You're not hearing me this morning. If He's begun something in your life, that means He's already went to the end of it and finished it. So all you've got to do is walk in the purpose that He's created. Life isn't complicated. If it's working, work it. If it's failing, stop doing it. We come together as a church on Sundays so that we can have disciples, so that we can disciple one another, so that I can take my hurt that I'm going through. I can take my pain that I'm going through. Maybe I had a terrible week and I've got a safe group of people to place that burden on. This is the last thing I'm going to challenge you with today. And this is going to rock some of your socks off. You should never take a problem to someone that don't have the ability to solve it. If you're taking notes, write that one down. When you take problem, what is the point in taking a problem to something? I wouldn't take a broken bass boat to a lawnmower mechanic. I wouldn't take a broken washer and dryer to a doctor. You don't take something that's broken, you don't take a problem to someone that don't have the ability to fix it. When you do, you know what you do? You start stirring up stuff that you don't want in your life. Well, I heard Sally, they said she was down there doing it. Billy, he was over there. You take it to people you love. You know what the church is? The church is different groups of people with different spiritual gifts that have the ability to help you with what you're going through. There's some of us in this room that's went through divorces people can't imagine. There's some of us in this room that as children, we went through things that would make people grow up. There's things in my life that could be a Lifetime movie. No joke. Those different colors represent people. Everybody stand with me this morning. Y'all getting something from this message? I sure hope so. If not, we're going to work on that soil. That's a laughing moment. Come on, everybody. Just fake laugh with me if you don't. I sure hope you get something, because if not, we're going to work on your soil. I'm going to ask the band to play, and while they play, you can move forward if you want to move forward. You can stay where you are. You don't have to do a hallelujah dance. You don't have to shout, shake, shimmer, or fall out the Spirit. You don't have to do any of that for God to move on your life. I know there's things in this room that people have been praying for that they want to see fulfilled. I know there's ideas. Listen, I know there's people in this room that have ministry inside of them that they fear and they say, well, how can I ever do that? I'm scared of this. There's people in this room that are in ministry right now that want to quit. There's people in this room in relationships that want to give up. I know that. And I'm going to say this. Everything you need is inside this room. God's placed each and every person here because they have a testimony. You seen the thing we did last week, the cardboard testimony. There's enough testimony in this room to shake Temple, Georgia, where they think it's a class 4 earthquake. There's enough testimony in this room to cure 100 people of cancer. There's enough testimony in this room to mend hundreds of marriages and relationships. There's enough testimony in this room to fight off what you're going through. The biggest battle is up here. I'm not good enough. I can't never speak in front of people. I can't do that. Well, God, I just don't know how I'm going to do it. So if that's you this morning, I don't care if you move forward. I don't care if you stay where you are. I just want to take a minute. I want every eye closed. Actually, I don't even care if you close your eyes. I don't care if you stand over in the corner. But what I want you to do is to take a minute. Forget about your phone. Forget about the food. Forget about everything. And just say, God, how can I be a tool that you are going to use to unlock something in somebody's life? Or God, maybe you're the person right now that needs to pour into. Can you send somebody to pour into me? Lord, because my bowl's empty. God, I need to be fulfilled. If that's you this morning, just begin to lift your hands. Begin to pray. Begin to thank Him. Maybe you're perfect. I don't know. Maybe there's nothing in your life that you need. But you know what you should do? You should give Him thanks. You should say, Lord, thank you for what I have, because all I have is because of you. We just read it in Deuteronomy. He says you can't be selfish with what He's gave you. So let's go ahead and sing, and let's take a moment, and let's celebrate what God's doing.